We have risen from the ashes to school the masses. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the Scholars of Wrestling Show, episode 314. I'm your man behind the microphone, Scholar Jeff. Joining us this week, as always, the Scholars of Wrestling World Heavyweight Champion, the one and only Mr. Scholar Brian. Scholar Brian, how are you doing tonight, sir?
Hola! Getting ready for some hell in a cell, and I'm going to put as much effort into this prediction show as the WWE has put into putting matches on their Hell in a Cell actual show. That's it.
Also joining us this week, fading into the background, he is a former Scholars of Wrestling World Heavyweight Champion and the current host of the brand new segment on our YouTube page, Raw Deal, the one and only Mr. Scholar Tarek. Scholar Tarek, how are we doing tonight, sir?
I am the terror that flaps in the night. I am the toaster that burns through the bread of crime. I am the undisputed scholar. Scholar Tarek, I'm doing just fine, fool. How are you?
Clearly someone's enjoying the new season of DuckTales. Woohoo.
Oh, absolutely. But we're not here to talk about that fantastic show. We're here to talk about not the great show that no one really seems to give a shit about.
But before we do that, why don't you say we talk about some shows that the people do give a shit about in a little segment we like to call a Backstage News.
Indeed, we shall go ahead and peek behind that curtain to get a smoke bomb thrown in our face to continue the Darkwing Duck reference and check in on a little
Backstage News! News!
Let's get dangerous.
Man. Our time is getting better, boys. What can I say? Anyway, speaking of wonderful timing, this would not be a wrestling show with any credibility if we did not talk about the highlight from AEW's last Dynamite show, Le Dinner Debonair. Fool, I was told that you have not gotten a chance to see it yet. Brian, I'm assuming you have immediate reactions to this piece of art.
I personally loved it. Okay. It did what sports entertainment is supposed to do. Was I sports entertained? Completely. Wholeheartedly. Okay. The people who are complaining about this segment, okay, this is a slightly more over-the-top edition of the Festival of Friendship that happened in the WWE. Okay, but the only reason people are pissed off about it is because of the musical number. Okay, they did a full song and dance, complete something you would see at a Broadway, and people are like, this is supposed to be an alternative to WWE. This is supposed to be a sports-based alternative. It's the same thing. They were complaining about Joey Janela being replaced by Sonny Kiss. They were complaining about nobody in the tournament for the number one contender. Nobody in that tournament is in the top 5 of the rankings. Okay, so you have the AEW did it to themselves, really, by saying that that everything was going to be based off the rankings and all that. So of course you're going to get the naysayers that they're going to jump on that every time that they don't follow that. Okay, and you get the people who are like, this isn't sports based. They're doing a musical number. What is that? So you get those said. They're waste of space in the community. to be completely honest. If I'm gonna be honest, blunt, and to the point, they're complete waste of space. Because wrestling is sports entertainment. And if you weren't entertained by that, I don't know what to tell you. Because it's one of the most entertaining things I've seen all year.
And you know what? You bring up a very good point, Brian, that it wasn't just, even though this one segment was the standout of the entire show, there was not too much else that was slacking here. There was the number one contendership title tournament, which did its job. And it was just a very typical high standard AEW show. So tagging you in again, Fool, did you happen to hear, what have you heard so much about so far, anyway, about this episode of AEW Dynamite Kick?
Oh, it was just mainly, the only things I really mainly watched was the tournament aspect of Kenny Omega completely dominating over Sonny Kiss, really just the tournament match itself. And again, when it comes to wrestling wise, it was a very good show. And when it comes to the musical number, which that's what it is, a musical number. I'm really looking forward to actually watching it when I actually get the free time to watch. I'll probably watch it right after we record tonight.
I was going to say, I'll send it to you after this.
I'll just look it up myself. Of course, I've also read all the reactions to it, and it's just, it's reached that point where as long as you're still like finding some entertainment in it, there's always going to be those idiots that are going to find something to complain about with it. And of course, people are already comparing this to the Elias concert that happened on Raw. And I'm like, well, like
that was badass too.
Yeah, that was entertaining as well. And yet I honestly feel like you really shouldn't compare the two. One's a musical number and one's an actual concert. So yeah,
and they're both of high quality.
Songs,
they're not jokey.
Huh?
They were both of high quality, no matter what genre they were in. It's not like it was a cheap piece of junk. This was legit.
Yeah. All in all, I managed to what I did watch on Dynamite Kick was the tournament itself. I still need to watch the musical number.
Yeah. The tournament itself did what it needed to do.
Yeah.
Okay, we know what the finals are going to be.
Exactly.
Okay. We know exactly where we're going. It's just a question of how you get there. Okay? We're getting the Kenny Omega that we've wanted to see. We're getting the cleaner now. Okay.
Women with mops are funny.
Ray Phoenix and Pentagon, match of the year candidate. That was awesome. Okay. Hangman and Colt Cabana and Jungle Boy and Wardlow did their jobs. Okay, so it was great. Okay, when you talk about the Eddie Kingston and the John Moxley promos, okay, I will compare it to a match we're going to be talking about later, Roman Reigns and Jey Uso, where you know the result. You know the result going into this match. Okay? It's predictable as hell. Okay? You know that both champions are walking out still champion. Okay? But you're invested because of dude, it's Moxley and Omega. It's Moxley and Omega at Revolution. Okay, you could give me that face all you want, Jeff, but Eddie Kingston isn't champion material at this point in my mind. But it's legit. Okay, it's the same thing. Okay, you know who's walking out champion, but you're invested because of the storylines they're saying, because of the story that they're telling. Okay, the promos are great in both aspects. Okay, you know who's walking out, but you're invested in the match itself, which is something that's very hard to do. You're invested in a match that is predictable as hell because of the storylines that they're laying out in order to get to that match. AEW is doing it correctly. WWE, in one instance, is doing it correctly.
I wouldn't say in one instance. There is like maybe two or three. Really? Just the Hell in a Cell matches themselves.
I'm going in with predictability wise. Not they're WWE just doing a bunch of their Hell in a Cell matches correctly the way they should be doing it. But if you're going in and you know that someone's winning the match and you're still invested in it, you're doing that story correctly. Okay? Because you're invested no matter what. And then, okay, you know, with the tag team match that was the main event, okay? You knew the Young Bucks were winning.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You knew, there was no doubt. But you're invested in that fatal four-way match because the you know the match is so good, even though you know who's coming out, you know who's winning. So I had no complaints whatsoever with AEW this week.
And speaking of things you can't complain about, one thing I will not complain about is that my pain and misery is over for the year, because the New Japan Pro Wrestling G1 Climax 30 is finally finished. The climax is over. No more jokes, because the winner of the 2020 G1 Climax this year, Kota Ibushi.
Get your pals out. The explosion has...
The climax
has commenced.
The climax has reached its conclusion. It's time to pull out that cigarette. Was it good for you? It was great for me.
Is this the first time that someone's won 2 in a row?
I actually don't know. I'm not familiar enough with New Japan history off the top of my head to say that one way or the other. But the real question is, as far as I'm concerned, because again, it's not obviously not in our home state, but it's worth a shot anyway. You good?
One of my lights just burned out. Okay, that's
great.
Okay, that sucks. But what doesn't suck, hopefully, here's a Scholar's Quick Talk. This time around, can Kota Ibushi, or will Kota Ibushi, defeat Evil for the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship?
He kind of has to at this point, right?
Yeah, I feel like, I agree. I feel like
he can't win the tournament twice and not walk out of Wrestle Kingdom champion twice in a row. You can't do that. So there's no doubt in my mind that he's reaching the top of the mountain at Wrestle Kingdom this year, because that's just stupid. If you're gonna give it to him twice and not let him win twice,
to answer your question, Brian, no, this is not the first time someone's won it 2 in a row. The last time it was won 2 in a row was Hiroyoshi Tensan winning 2003 and 2004, the 28 and 29 climax.
Wow.
Let's see.
So, but point still stands on the he's got to walk out of Wrestle Kingdom as a champion. Like, it's a no-brainer. You can that NJPW's normally pretty good at that. Like, sometimes the obvious booking choice is the right booking choice. And it's a second in a row. He didn't walk out of Wrestle Kingdom last year as the champion. He needs to. it's necessary. Like, there's no way that Evil walks out of, like, I'll put money on it.
Hell, from what I'm reading on the list, when it was called the MSG League, and Antonio Inoki actually won it 4 years in a row.
Well, yeah, Inoki will do that.
Yeah. Yeah. In 78, 79, 80, and 81.
Yeah, he's like the Japanese Bruno Sammartino with his longevity.
And then Andre the Giant won the next year. 82.
Well,
there you go. Anywho, enough of the past, enough of the overseas scene. Now we gotta get domestic over here. Because this weekend we've got Hell in a Cell 2020. Not the longest card, but it is a card all the same. And who knows? There could be some gems in the rough here. So let's dive right into it.
As long as they don't end a Hell in a Cell match by not ending a Hell in a Cell match.
They better have lost. They better have learned their lesson.
I was actually going to use that as a Scholar's Quick Talk later. I was like, do they actually have the balls
to do it the third year in a row, having Hell in a Cell main event end in nothing?
No.
Yeah. Do they have the balls?
That's it. No, they do not have the balls. When X-Pac, of all people, is calling you out on your own show, you know you messed up. You know you messed up.
X-Pac, of all people.
Yes, X-Pac. But anyway, no more pretense aside. Let's dive right into it. This is as of this Friday, as of Friday before Hell in a Cell, this is the card for WWE Hell in a Cell 2020, starting with the just announced Otis versus Miz for the Money in the Bank briefcase. Let's kick it off to Champion's Advantage. Scholar Brian, who do you got?
If it was the other half of Miz and Morrison, I would actually have to think about this one. As it stands, okay, the Miz isn't the one who's going to be stealing the briefcase if it gets stolen in the first place at all. Otis wins here.
Fool, who do you got? Otis or the Miz?
Man, I even said this on radio. This is the worst storyline going on in WWE right now. At least big players storyline. This storyline sucks. And what's even sucks even more is I don't even see this ending here. I see it continuing on, especially when they're finding reasons to bring Otis to Raw with Lucha Odor, as I called him.
Lucha
Odor. Yeah, I'm gonna stick with Otis. As much as they're trying to get the Money in the Bank briefcase off Otis, like the people backstage, yeah, I don't want to see Miz with it.
I'm seconding that.
I don't want to. I want to see John Morrison. I even fantasy booked on Raw deal of. I was hoping that this was going to be a tag team match with Otis and Tucker versus Miz and Morrison, and whoever got the pin, is the one that wins the briefcase. And I was gonna. Looks like Miz is gonna win with John Morrison just coming in out of nowhere and stealing the pin and win and becoming a single star and becoming a future WWE champion. But nope, they want to keep. Apparently, Morrison is kind of the lackey to Miz. That's kind of how their tag team is right now. So, yeah, to hell with that.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to second that or third that rather. I think this one seems fairly obvious to me. If something major is going to happen, which is always a possibility with WWE and the Money in the Bank briefcase, I'm just not totally convinced that it's going to happen now. If anything, it'll probably result in a failed cash-in sometime soon, probably at Survivor Series. I don't know.
I just hope he actually doesn't cash in on the tag team titles as what he talked about before winning it. Like he said in an interview, if he did win it, it was going to be him and Tucker cashing it in on the tag team titles.
Plans change.
I hope not.
And-
At least
and
on that case.
That would have made sense to me. And I hope that this ends because of Otis being on SmackDown. Like I understand the El Gran Gordo thing, but there's only so much, there's only so far you can take that. Okay, so
I swear, I thought he was going. When I saw that, I was immediately popping into my head. El Nino.
No.
That's Spanish for
the
the
Nino.
Nino.
Yo soy el Nino. For those of you who don't habla español, yeah, it's Otis all the way.
When your lucha name is the Fat Man, yeah.
Yeah.
Shit.
But speaking of people who are not fat, we also have Jeff Hardy versus Elias. Fool, it's your go. Who do you got?
I'm gonna go for Elias with this one. I mean, I can even see him using this as a promotion to like when he launches his new album. And there's big rumors going around that he's going to be pushed as a big star, which surprises the hell out of me. So, yeah, I could see Elias taking the win on this one.
Okay, that is very interesting because I thought I was going to be the odd man out here, and because I was going to go with Elias as well. For after that Dynamite performance on Monday, and again, I haven't heard quite as many rumors as you have, but the timing just seems right for Elias right now.
Plus, it's his first match back.
Boom, there it is. So yeah, I'm going to join on Elias. Brian, do we have an accord with Elias?
from thinking you're going to be the odd man out to a three-way sweep across the board. Yeah, I am going with Elias. Basically, okay, you can tell that he's in for a huge push. They let him finish a song, man. They let him actually finish a song on TV. Didn't finish the encore, but they let him finish an original song. So
Hell, I can even see this feud continuing on. If Miz and Otis were definitely a feud ender on this one, I see this one definitely being a feud starter.
Well, yeah, because Elias still thinks that Jeff Hardy ran him over.
Yet
we know that he didn't, but
didn't they reveal that to be Sheamus?
Apparently, Elias hasn't watched WWE TV the entire time he's been out.
Or the writers just don't think about the long run and think us as audience are morons.
Well,
and just don't remember about that shit. We
all know that, but in character-based terms, Elias hasn't watched WWE TV the entire time he's been out. So that's
even your wrestlers watch your product. That's terrible.
So yeah, but that's great.
I still see you. You're still coming in clear.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the whole dumbass storytelling, sure. But if Elias gets a push out of dumbass storytelling, I walk with Elias for now. Elias wins.
Okay, then. So moving on to our next match, we've got Roman Reigns versus Jey Uso in Hell in a Cell. And yes, it is an I Quit match.
That actually makes this match very intriguing because there's never been an added stipulation to a Hell in a Cell. And just having it be an I Quit match actually, adds more intrigue for me in this storyline.
Yeah, this has a lot of intrigue to it. This has me emotionally invested, and I'm sure they're going to kill it that night. But Unfortunately, this ending seems pretty predictable. I'm going to go with Roman Reigns. Brian, do you concur?
The ass kicking that Jey Uso is about to receive.
We salute you.
Quite honestly, okay, this I feel is what we thought that we were gonna get at what was the last show?
That would be, what was the last show? I don't have a memory beyond 2 days.
How sad is that? We don't remember the last pay-per-view.
That's
Wasn't it Clash
2020.
of Champions?
Yeah, it actually
Clash
was,
of
I think.
Champions, yes. We thought that was just going to be Roman Reigns just beating the shit out of Jey Uso. But Jey Uso put up a pretty good fight in that match. Not in the cell. This is going to be a Jey Uso bump party. If anyone's getting thrown off the cell
No one's
tonight,
getting thrown off the cell.
don't ruin my fun.
Come on, Brian. When was the last time they actually threw someone off the top of a cell?
Rikishi.
Okay,
I thought it was Shane McMahon, technically.
okay.
Shane
No,
McMahon.
he jumped off the
he
cell.
jumped.
Jumping off doesn't count. Being thrown off is a
Okay.
different story.
Being
All right.
thrown off, it's Rikishi. But yeah, this is. I still think that Roman Reigns in the middle of the match is going to be like, I don't want you to say I quit. I want you to call me the tribal chief. That's it. We're going to go back to that.
So Roman is going to win then?
If anybody says Jey Uso, okay, you're dumb. There's no
Tarek?
way. There's no way Roman Reigns doesn't walk out of this as a champion. No way.
Tarek, what are you thinking? Tarek, say the words, Tarek. Say the words.
No balls. He won't do it.
Say the words,
Jey
Tarek.
Uso is not winning this. Come on.
Good job keeping us all in suspense, or at least amusing me for 10 seconds.
There will be no miracles for the miracle Uso.
Okay.
Not in this reality. Not in this canon.
The only thing I have to say about this, and I kind of want, I guess I'll throw it in as a scholar's quick talk for you too. Do you see this being the debut of them forming the start of them forming a stable with the Usos and Roman Reigns?
No.
Even with
Possibly.
Jay being the one being the reluctant guy being put in this.
No. I think that this is the total breaking
Okay.
of this is Roman Reigns getting out away from the family. This is Roman Reigns basically saying, fuck you. I don't need you. I don't want you to be around. I've got my own thing. I'm top dog. Get away from me. And if you don't get away from me, this is what I'm going to do to you. As he annihilates Jey Uso in the cell.
I also do agree. I don't want it to be a hep. There is the rumors going around that this will be the start of it. Even Jay saying in an interview that since Roman came as this new persona with Paul Heyman, he wanted to be a part of it. Yeah, I hope this doesn't happen. I actually want Roman to stay as a guy by himself with with a manager, not as the leader of a stable.
All right, then. Moving on to our next match. Finally made official. We've got Bayley versus Sasha Banks in a Hell in a Cell for the title. Brian, I believe it's your turn. Who walks out of the cell to champion? Bayley or Sasha Banks?
I'm gonna go Bayley.
Interesting.
I think that there's more legs to this feud, and I still think it goes through WrestleMania. I think Bayley pulls some shit where she says that this is the only title defense she'll have against Sasha. Like it gets, and Sasha Banks is not allowed any more title shots after this until Sasha Banks goes in, wins the Royal Rumble, and chooses to face Bayley at WrestleMania, because that's where the blow off to this feud should take place. This is a WrestleMania match that needs to happen. And I think that there's still room in this Bayley heel run for the championship. I mean, like, there is so much you can do to keep, uh, Bayley going as the prick champion. Okay, because right now, okay, I don't feel the sympathy for Sasha Banks that I'm supposed to, in order to really feel good about her overcoming Bayley and becoming the champion. Okay, this shouldn't be a one-off thing where where Sasha Banks gets her revenge on Bayley doing what she did. Okay, this should be a thing where Bayley does it again, does that kind of thing again, plays the smart heel role. Okay, then you build up more sympathy for Sasha, so that when she does win at WrestleMania, when she finally takes the title off of Bayley, that it means more than it means more in the end that way. So I feel there's more legs here. I don't think you should do the title change this early. Bayley retains via heel tendencies.
Okay. Tarek, which one you got, Sasha or Bayley?
Sasha Banks wins this one and then loses it on SmackDown to keep her streak going of winning it at a pay-per-view and losing it on the next TV show that
God
next
damn
week.
it.
In all seriousness.
But are you legitimately picking Sasha Banks to win for this one, or are you going Bayley?
That's the thing. This is of the entire match card. This one was actually the most difficult for me, just because I agree 100% on what Brian is saying, that this feud continues on to WrestleMania. And I even see her winning the Royal Rumble unless Charlotte comes back that January and just trolls us all again.
We'll cross that bridge when we come to it.
It's like Charlotte Flair wins the Royal Rumble again because it's fucking Charlotte Flair. Woo.
Charlotte Flair wins because of woo.
Because woo. In all seriousness, though, this is a tough one for me.
What shall you do, Tarek? What shall you do?
Yeah, I know. I'm playing the Jeopardy theme in my head while I'm thinking about this. Huh?
I'm pretty sure where Jeff's going.
Are you though?
Are
you really?
I think so. I'm not gonna say it right now, but I think I know where you're going.
I'd be surprised. I'd be surprised if you knew for sure. But I'm not in the hot seat right now. Tarek is.
I'll say Sasha Banks just because I see it as good publicity for the Mandalorian coming out literally that week. I see that as good publicity. The SmackDown.
I legitimately did not think of that.
Again, They could just do that Sasha Banks BS and just have her win it at the pay-per-view just to lose it at a SmackDown.
And
maybe
then
next.
they'd kill the storyline. So they better fucking not. That's it.
But yeah, considering The Mandalorian is that Friday, this Friday after Hell in a Cell, I can see them. I can see WWE doing that. Even though I completely agree with Brian, I just see this one as kind of a good publicity thing, good promotion for your SmackDown Women's Champion promoting Mandalorian.
And good publicity does not equal good storytelling, as is the WWE way.
Just watch. They have their rematch that whatever the next at Survivor Series, and Tamina shows up to be Bayley's new Diesel.
It won't be at Survivor Series because they're doing the interpromotional bullshit like they normally do.
Yeah, that being said, though, the idea of an inter-promotion or a cross-promotion with The Mandalorian is a very intriguing one, but I can't go with that for just the sole reason why this may happen. I am fully convinced that they're not going to ride this out to WrestleMania. They can't stretch it that far. I'm convinced of that. If they want to keep this interesting and good and engaging, they're going to have to blow it off more around Survivor Series, in my opinion. But that said,
enough blowing right off. Come on, the climax is over. Enough blowing off.
Hey, we're talking about Sasha Banks here.
I stand with what I said.
Never die.
I still stand with what I said.
And I'm standing with Sasha Banks on this one. As much as I wanted to go Bayley just to split the room and be a weirdo, I'm going to go with Sasha Banks here. I think she's going to take it, and I think she's going to be the defending champion. If they decide to do another match between her and Bayley, it'll be with her defending at Survivor Series to finally write off this feud once and for all. That's my story. I'm sticking to it.
First of all, I can confirm that I called you out correctly. I knew you were going Sasha Banks.
I figured.
Second of all, how many times do I have to say that there's not going to be a defense at Survivor Series? Every match is interpromotional. It's Survivor Series works now.
Either all the more reason to switch it over from now.
Also, WWE is now at that point where they don't even think about the long haul anymore. They just think about right now, the moments. And just the moment. I just see this moment happening.
And I think it's cool, but whatever. It's the WWE.
Oh, we want to think long haul. Like I said, I agree with your story, Brian. I do see them stretch. I do want to see them stretch this out till Mania, but considering just how WWE's mindset is nowadays, where they don't think about the long storyline, they just think about making moments to pop a rating. So
yeah, because I mean, going off of what Jeff said, like they need to blow it off. I'm like, there's ways to keep them apart in ring and still keep the storyline going in order to stretch it out. It doesn't have to be them facing each other every month for 6 months. I'm like, there's ways to actually make it so that they're not facing each other every month, but they still stretch the storyline out till WrestleMania. As I put it, okay, Bayley sneaks a clause. I heard this off of one of the news site videos on YouTube. They're like, Bayley can win. Okay. Sneak in a clause in the match contract that says this is the only shot that Sasha Banks can get while I'm champion.
And
then
interesting.
So she comes off as a smart heel, but she doesn't take into account that the Royal Rumble overtakes that clause in the contract. So when Sasha Banks wins the Royal Rumble and chooses Bayley
Come on, Vince isn't that. Vince isn't that.
for WrestleMania,
He doesn't plan that far ahead. He's now reaching that point where he can't even remember what he had for breakfast.
I'm just saying, I'm just saying there's ways that you can do it. Jeff said that there's basically when he was talking, like they need to blow it off at Survivor Series or on Survivor Series. I'm like, not necessarily. There's ways that you can stretch it out without beating people over the head with one-on-one matches like they did with Charlotte Flair and Sasha Banks back in the day. There's ways to do it. It's just I also agree with Tarek. It's like it would be a miracle if Vince let the writing team actually do that. But I'm like, there's ways for it to work. Will they go with it? Of course, probably not. But this is. I'm not defending the title at this. I'm not defending the title at this show, so I'm going with what I want to happen, and that's my storyline, and I'm sticking to it.
I wonder if they'll actually like reverse it and reverse what you pitched and have Bayley steal a Royal Rumble win, so it'll be Bayley going against Sasha Banks, like Bayley being the heel winning the Royal Rumble.
Interesting.
Because when was the last time a heel Rumble winner or
wasn't Charlotte a heel at the time?
Charlotte was Charlotte. She wasn't a face. She wasn't a heel. She was just Charlotte Flair, the attraction.
Because woo. She's
the one that shows up on every single show. She doesn't believe in boundaries. She goes to NXT, wins the women's championship. She goes to Raw just because I think that's what she was. I think she was a Raw superstar at the time when she won the Rumble. And she just goes to SmackDown because to start drama between Bayley and Sasha when they were together, which didn't execute until 5 months later. I don't know. It was definitely
me.
It was like maybe early pandemic. I don't know. Maybe even right before. Because I think it was before WrestleMania when she did that. No, it was after Mania. So yeah, it was during pandemic. God, the time frame because of the pandemic.
I'm not the only one.
Wobbly. Like, remember all those years ago, dude? It was 2 months ago. Not in pandemic time.
But all this aside, before we lose track of time any further in this time-dilated post-COVID world, we have a main event to talk about, and that's Drew McIntyre versus Randy Orton in yet another Hell in a Cell match for the title. Tarek, it's your final pick of the evening. McIntyre, Orton, who do you got?
For the last 2 prediction shows for the main roster, I have picked Randy Orton both times, and Randy has failed me both times. In this particular match, I'm actually now going the opposite route. I am picking Drew McIntyre to win this match now because of now post draft, he has a long list of people he can wrestle against for that title. And with Randy Orton, I even threw the picture to our group message. I see Randy Orton moving into a feud with The Fiend Bray Wyatt, which he threw hints at on his most recent episode of the Firefly Funhouse. So yeah, I see Drew continuing on this long, magnificent title reign, proving himself as a true main eventer. And if they actually do the cross promotional, I'd rather see Roman Reigns versus Drew McIntyre, champion versus champion, than Randy Orton versus Roman Reigns, champion versus champion.
Fair point. I didn't think of it. but still my answer is going to be all the same. I'm going to also go with Drew McIntyre here. There's too much potential for this version of Drew McIntyre, especially in the immediate aftermath of a post-draft roster shakeup. Whatever your reasoning, the answer is the same. I'm picking McIntyre to win. Brian, do we have an accord, sir?
We actually do. I'm picking, and if Randy Orton was going to be champion, he would have been champion by now.
He would have won it in the ambulance match.
So the whole thing, okay, once again agreed that you've got a whole boatload of possibilities now. Back before the draft, it was legitimately Orton, and that was it. That was it. Like, he'd run through all the other challengers. So at that point, it was like, yeah, put it on Orton because McIntyre's done everything he could possibly do with the title at that point. But then they do the draft. Okay, they give AJ Styles a big boy enforcer. That's it. I think that's where they're going next. I think they're doing Drew versus AJ, and I'm here for it. So that guy
is huge, man. He is ginormous.
Yeah, that's it. It basically comes down to this. Okay, it comes down to what I first said. Okay, if they were gonna put the title on Orton, it would already be there. Okay, he'd be defending in this Hell in a Cell, and it would be an entirely different conversation. But at this point, okay, first of all, he's Randy Orton. Okay, no loss is gonna hurt this dude. Okay, that's it. Him losing 3 times in a world title feud. Okay, cool. What's up? He moves on to a feud with the Fiend, and we're still all in on that because he's still Randy Orton. So
I mean, this is more putting over Drew McIntyre as a main event top guy than just putting another title reign on Orton.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. So it cements Drew McIntyre even more. Okay, and now he has a boatload of new challengers to opened up, and we can have and new stories can be told, and we don't have to do the fallback of Randy Orton versus Edge for the title at WrestleMania, because let's face it, don't need it. Randy Orton versus Edge does not need a title ever. Okay, that's it. Okay, and you're already gonna have the attraction match because Roman's gonna be going against The Rock. So so you don't need 2.
What are you giggling about, fool?
I'm sorry, Brian. It's nothing you're saying. I just think about AJ Styles' muscle, and he was the doorman to Raw Underground. So all I'm thinking is that clip from Knocked Up. Doorman. You're just a doorman.
Oh boy.
Yeah, he was the doorman for Raw Underground. So doorman. I
want that to be his name now. It's just coming in at 350 pounds or whatever. Doorman. Doorman Dan.
But seriously, that guy is fucking huge. Huge.
But all the way across the board, Drew McIntyre.
Yes. And with that, those are our predictions.
Only one prediction is different.
For now. We'll see if they add more. But now is the time in the show where we turn it over to you, our wrestling viewing and enjoying audience, fellow fans and critics alike. We want to hear from you. What do you think of our predictions? Do you agree with them? Do you not agree with them? What is the doorman's real name? Is it Doorman Dan? Is it?
They put his name. They had his name up when Styles came out. I just don't remember it.
He's Doorman Dan. Whatever. Screw it. It's Doorman Dan.
Just like Tano is DVD Phil, we now have Doorman Dan.
That's Toru Yano.
Toru Yano.
Yes.
Yeah. He's DVD Phil. We now have Doorman Dan.
Whatever you call them, there they are. What do you call them? We want to hear from you no matter what your opinion is. So drop us a line, Facebook comments, YouTube comments, or if you want to get real friendly with us, follow us on Twitter and leave us a comment there. Starting with @ScholarsOW for all the latest episode uploads every single week. Or you can also join us on our personal Twitter accounts, starting with You Fool. Where can they reach you?
You can reach me now about to watch Le Dinner Debonair at the Avataric.
Brian, where can they reach you?
You can reach me now thinking of stories in my head about the adventures of DVD Phil and Doorman Dan at Atomic Beanpole.
And you can check out me being dumbfounded by all of this at I'm Robbie Rage. Join the conversation. It's always a ton of fun, especially on pay-per-view weekends. But again, you already knew that because you know who we are. We are the Scholars of Wrestling, and you have just been schooled. You're welcome. See you all at Hell in a Cell.